Hi. Like many photographers, I'm really into landscape photography, but that does come with its own particular technical difficulties. And one of these, one of the most common in fact, is trying to reconcile very bright skies with much darker foregrounds. Hello, I'm Rod Lawton, and this is a video for amateur photographer on how to enhance and improve your landscape photography in Adobe Lightroom. There's a problem you very often get in landscape photography where your sky is a bit bright and a bit boring, and the landscape below is a bit dark and a bit boring. So what do you do about it? Well, you can use regular on-camera filters, but you can also do this kind of thing in Lightroom with a lot more control and probably a lot more success, to be honest. Here's my finished image, and it's a bit over the top, but it's just done to exaggerate the effects you can achieve in Lightroom, and I'm going to show you how it's done. So here's my starting image, and I'm going to start with what a landscape photographer would normally do in the field, which is to use a graduated filter to try to tone down the sky, make it a little bit darker and richer. So let's see how we get on with that. So if I select the mask tool, create a linear gradient, I can drag down from the top of the frame, create a mask, and you can see it's got a kind of red overlay to show you where the mask is. There's my gradient. I can move it around, I can adjust it. So let's try a couple of things. Let's try reducing exposure. That's all right, but it's gone a bit grey and stormy. Let's reset that. I think what I'll actually do is use the curves adjustment, because this adds a little contrast to the sky as well. And this is a fairly extreme adjustment, but remember, we're only adjusting the sky. That's all right. It's a bit oversaturated. That's what happens when you use a strong curves adjustment. So I think I'll just take down the saturation a little, make it look a little bit more natural. Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. But there is a bit of an issue. You might notice that the top of the rocks here have been darkened by this graduated linear mask. This is exactly what happens if you're using a graduated filter on your camera lens. It's going to darken things that you don't really want darkened, such as this stack of rocks. Anything that juts up into the sky where you're applying the darkening effect, that will get darkened too. So what do you do? In the real world, there's really not very much you can do with an actual filter. You're limited. But in Lightroom, you can do something quite clever. If we go up to this mask I created, click this three dot icon and use intersect mask with select sky, what happens now is that Lightroom will detect the sky area alone and then make sure that only the sky area is affected by the linear mask. I can show you what this looks like. It's not a very strong effect, but it comes in useful a bit later, as we'll see. So if I deselect the sky, you can perhaps see how the rocks are lightened, or in other words, they're protected from the linear gradient on the sky. Now, if I move the linear gradient for the sky a little more, I can make that effect more pronounced. It might not seem much at the moment, but it will prove significant later, and it does make a difference. So I'm just going to finish with this mask for now and try to do something with the foreground. Now, what I really want to do here is I want to brighten up the whole of this image apart from the sky, and that's the secret. So I've created a mask for the sky. What I really need is a mask that's the opposite of that. And it's actually very straightforward to do. If I go to this mask I've created for the sky, click this three dot button, I can choose duplicate and invert mask. Now you can see from the red overlay that everything but the sky is selected. So I can now do some more work with the curves tool, increase the contrast a little, drag down the shadows so it's not too washed out. I can go further. I can perhaps add a little clarity, maybe a little texture to make the texture of the rocks and the grass stand out. Maybe I'd like a little bit more saturation. And I think also what I might do is just warm this up slightly. Now, Very often, if you try to warm up the white balance in a landscape shot, it doesn't work because it affects the whole image. And the sky goes a bit of an unsatisfactory warm color too. But what we've actually done with these two masks is we've separated this image into two regions. So we've got the sky region and we've got the landscape region. And now with the landscape selected, not the sky, if I increase the color temperature, I do get a nice warming up effect on the landscape without affecting the sky. So really, this is a very simple technique. The secret is to split your landscapes into two regions, a sky region and a foreground region. And once you've done that, you can edit them both separately and get much more effective results than if you try to apply a global adjustment. So really, that's all I think I need to do with this image. It's a very simple approach, and I hope you find it useful in your landscape photography. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.